My name is Natalie. I'm 32 years old, and I thought I had everything figured out. After years of saving every single penny from a soul-crushing banking job, I finally bought my dream apartment in downtown Chicago. It was my sanctuary, a symbol of my independence. But when a career change forced me to rent it out temporarily, I never expected my own family would be the ones to try and take it from me. That afternoon, as I arrived with Elijah and Isabella, my perfect new tenants, I found my sister Vanessa and her fiancé Trevor lounging on my couch as if they owned the place. Their first words to me were, "Oh, hey. Mom said we could stay here for a while." My blood ran cold. This is the story of a lifetime of entitlement culminating in one spectacular showdown, and the sweet, sweet justice that followed Dot to understand the audacity of that afternoon. You have to understand the fault lines that ran through my family for nearly 2 decades. I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood on the outskirts of Chicago. My childhood was relatively normal until I turned 14, when my parents amicable. Divorce changed our dynamic forever. My father moved to another state, and my mother, Diane, was left to raise my younger sister Vanessa and me on her own. Vanessa is 5 years younger than me, and from a very early age, she had a habit of taking my things without asking. It wasn't just a childhood phase. It was a foundational principle of our relationship. My favorite sweater would mysteriously end up in her closet. My birthday money would vanish from my desk drawer. Each time, the response was the same. She would either deny it or claim she thought I wouldn't mind, and my mother would step in to defend her. "Natalie, you need to learn to share," Mom would say, completely ignoring the principle of asking for permission. She just wants to be like her big sister. This pattern solidified during our teenage years. I remember one incident with crystal clarity. I was 17, and for my prom, I had saved up for months from my part-time job at a bookstore to buy the perfect dress. It was a simple, elegant navy blue gown that made me feel, for the first time, truly beautiful. The night of Vanessa's first high school dance, I came home to find her preening in front of my mirror, wearing my dress. "What are you doing?" I asked, my voice tight with disbelief. "I just wanted to try it on," she said, pouting. "Mine is so boring." Before I could say another word, she tripped over the rug, spilling a glass of bright red punch all down the front of the delicate silk. The stain was immediate and catastrophic. I saw red. It wasn't just a dress. It was months of hard work, of saving, of looking forward to one perfect night. When I confronted her, tears streaming down my face, my mother stepped in. "Accidents happen, Natalie," she said calmly, dabbing at the stain with a wet cloth, only making it worse. "Don't be so dramatic." Vanessa was just excited. Vanessa, meanwhile, was sobbing about how I was ruining her night. In the end, I was the one who had to apologize for getting angry. I never wore the dress again while I was working 2 jobs to save for college. Vanessa was receiving new clothes and expensive birthday parties. The justification was always the same. "Vanessa needs more support." Or, my personal favorite, "You're so independent, Natalie. You don't need as much help." I wasn't independent by choice. I was independent by necessity. I had learned early on that relying on anyone in my family was a recipe for disappointment. By the time I left for college, I had learned to hide my important belongings and keep my plans to myself. I worked my way through university, maintaining a scholarship through sheer determination. Meanwhile, Vanessa attended a private college, fully funded by our mother, who had apparently come into some money from a small inheritance of her own. I graduated with minimal student loans, but the inequity stung. After graduation, I landed a grueling job in investment banking. The hours were brutal, the stress was overwhelming, but the pay was good. I lived as frugally as possible, sharing A cramped apartment with 2 roommates, taking public transportation and cooking all my meals at home. Every extra dollar went into my savings account with a single laser-focused goal: buying my own place. A place that was mine, a place no one could take from me. 3 years ago, that dream became a reality. I purchased a 2-bedroom apartment in a secure building with a doorman. It wasn't extravagant, but it was mine. I spent months making it perfect. I painted the walls a calming sage green. I scoured furniture consignment shops to find pieces I loved. I created a space that felt like home, a sanctuary from the chaos of the world and, frankly, my family. That apartment represented my independence and security, something I had built brick by brick. Without a dime of help from anyone. My mother and Vanessa came to my housewarming party, of course. My mother made passive-aggressive comments about how I could have afforded something bigger. If I'd only accepted her help that was never actually offered. Vanessa wandered from room to room, her eyes cataloging my possessions. "This place is so cute," she said, in that tone that always made me feel like she was simultaneously complimenting and criticizing me. When I buy a place, I think, I'll go for something with more character, though. I just smiled and refilled her wine glass. 6 months ago, I decided to pivot my career. The banking hours were destroying my physical and mental health. An opportunity arose to move into financial planning, a role that aligned better with my values. The catch was a temporary, significant income reduction during the transition and certification period. I ran the numbers. To be safe, I needed a financial cushion. That's when I came up with a plan. I would rent out my apartment for 1 year and stay with my close friend Zoe, who had a spacious condo and was happy to have me as a roommate for a reduced rent. It was the perfect solution. The tenant search was exhaustive. I wasn't just looking for someone who could pay the rent. I was looking for someone who would care for my home. I interviewed dozens of applicants, conducted background checks, and verified employment histories. Finally, I found Elijah and Isabella, a young professional couple with stable jobs and glowing references. He worked in software development, and she was a nurse. They were looking for a 1-year lease while they saved for their own place, which aligned perfectly with my timeline. They were respectful, thoughtful, and understood that this wasn't just an investment property to me. The contract was drawn up, the deposit was paid, and move-in day was scheduled. I hadn't mentioned my specific plans to my mother or Vanessa, only saying that I was staying with a friend for a while. Past experience had taught me that giving them too much information often led to complications. The day before the final walkthrough, I received a text from my mother. It was unusually friendly. "Hey, sweetie, how's the new job? And how's living with Zoe? Hope you're settling in well." I should have recognized the probing questions as a warning sign. I kept my response vague, saying everything was going well. I had no idea that she was laying the groundwork for an ambush. The morning of the final walkthrough arrived. The spring sun was shining, and I was excited about starting this new chapter. I had cleaned the apartment thoroughly, prepared a welcome basket for Elijah and Isabella, and created a detailed guide to the building. I had no idea that my careful plans were about to collide with my family's sense of entitlement in the most spectacular way possible. I met Elijah and Isabella in the lobby, coffee in hand. They were just as lovely as I remembered, professional and ready with their final payment. "We are so excited about moving in," Isabella said as we rode the elevator. "We promise to take great care of the place." "I know you will." I smiled, feeling confident in my choice. As the elevator doors opened, I led them down the hallway. When we reached my door, I noticed it was slightly ajar. A chill ran down my spine. Had there been a break-in? I cautiously pushed the door open, signaling for them to wait. What I saw made my jaw drop. My sister Vanessa was sprawled across my sofa, scrolling through her phone, while her fiancé Trevor was in my kitchen, drinking from one of my mugs. Several large boxes and suitcases were stacked by the entryway. Vanessa, what are you doing here? How did you even get in? I stammered. She looked up lazily and smiled. Oh, hey, sis, surprise. Mom gave us her spare key. She told us you were staying at a friend's place for a while, so we could use your apartment while we save for the wedding. Perfect timing, right? Our lease just ended. I stood frozen, aware of Elijah and Isabella shifting awkwardly behind me. My mother had a spare key for emergencies only. An emergency, apparently, was my sister needing a free place to live. There. Must be some mistake, I finally managed to say. I'm not just staying at a friend's place, I'm renting out the apartment. These are my tenants, Elijah and Isabella. They're moving in today. Vanessa's smile faltered. What? No, Mom specifically said you weren't using the place. I turned to my tenants, my face burning with embarrassment. I'm so sorry about this. Would you mind waiting in the hallway for a few minutes while I sort this out? They nodded and stepped back. I shut the door and took a deep breath. Listen, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I don't know what Mom told you, but this is my apartment. I have a legally binding contract with Elijah and Isabella. They are moving in today. Vanessa's expression darkened. Well, we've already moved half our stuff in. We gave up our apartment. We have nowhere else to go. That is not my problem, I said. You should have confirmed with me before assuming you could stay. Here, why would I need to confirm with you when Mom already said it was fine? She shot back. Trevor, who had been silent, finally spoke up. I did suggest calling you first, but Vanessa said it was all set. Vanessa shot him a glare. That could curdle milk. She pulled out her phone. Let me call Mom and straighten this out. As she guiled, I stepped into the hallway to apologize again to my tenants. You will be able to move in today, I assured them, hoping I could make good on that promise. I returned to find Vanessa with the phone on speaker. My mother's voice was defensive. Natalie, I assumed your apartment would be sitting empty. It makes perfect sense for them to use it. Mom, you had no right, I said, my voice rising. I am renting it out. The tenants are here right now. There was a pause. Well, I think family should come first, Natalie. Vanessa and Trevor need a place to stay. Surely you can find other tenants later. And there it was, the same pattern. Vanessa's needs always came first. My mother always assumed I would sacrifice and give in. I looked at Vanessa, who now wore a smug expression. Mom, I have a legal contract. I cannot just tell them to leave. Surely they would understand if you explained, my mother replied. Family emergencies happen. This is not a family emergency, I said firmly. This is Vanessa assuming she can take something of mine and you enabling her. I need to go. I have tenants waiting. I ended the call. Vanessa stared at me, her expression a mixture of shock and anger. I can't believe you're choosing strangers over your own sister. Where are we supposed to go? That is not my concern, I replied, a strange calm descending over me. I need you to pack up your things and leave, now. We're not going anywhere, she declared, crossing her arms. Mom said we could stay here, and we're staying. I closed my bedroom door behind me, leaning against it as I tried to steady my breathing. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Call me back. We need to discuss this like adults. As if it were childish of me to expect control over my own property, I ignored it and dialed my friend Hannah, a real estate attorney. I explained the situation in a low, urgent voice. Hannah, what are my rights here? Her response was immediate and unequivocal. Your sister has absolutely no legal right to be there. She is trespassing. You own the property. You have a signed lease with your tenants. You have every right to have her removed by the police if necessary. Even though my mother gave them a key, it doesn't matter. Your mother has no authority to grant permission. Only you can. And be careful, Natalie. If you fail to provide the property to your tenants as agreed, they could sue you for breach of contract and damages. The stakes were even higher than I had realized. This wasn't just about standing up to my family. It was about fulfilling my legal responsibilities. I thanked Hannah and made one more call to the building management. I explained the situation and asked them to meet me at my apartment. With a deep breath, I returned to the living room, walking with a newfound confidence. I have just spoken with my attorney, I announced. She has confirmed what I already knew. Vanessa and Trevor, you have no legal right to be in this apartment. You are trespassing. Vanessa rolled her eyes. Oh, please. We're family, not criminals. Family or not, you need to leave, I said. A knock at the door interrupted our standoff. It was Mr. Peters, the building manager, a stern-looking man in his 60s. Miss Johnson, he said, nodding politely. You called about an unauthorized occupancy situation. I explained the situation. Mr. Peters listened attentively, then turned to Vanessa and Trevor. I'm afraid Miss Johnson is correct, he said in a professional tone. If you are here without her permission, you are trespassing. If she asks you to leave and you refuse, she has the right to call the police and have you removed by force. The word police seemed to finally penetrate Vanessa's defiance. You can't be serious, she said, turning to me. You would call the police on your own sister? I hope it won't come to that, I replied evenly. But yes, if necessary, I will. This apartment is my property, my investment, and my security. I have worked too hard for it to let anyone, even family, take it from me. The front door opened again, and my mother bustled in, looking flustered and annoyed. What in the world is going on here? She demanded, then noticed Mr. Peters. Ma'am, this is a property rights issue, Mr. Peters explained patiently. After she tried to dismiss him, your other daughter has no legal right to occupy this property without the owner's consent. I watched as the reality slowly dawned on my mother. For perhaps the first time in her life, her authority was not being recognized. She switched to a pleading tone. Natalie, surely we can work something out. Your tenants could wait just a few months. I turned to Elijah and Isabella, who had been silent witnesses. I am sorry you've had to endure this. If you would like to wait downstairs, I will resolve this and complete our walkthrough. They nodded and left, their patience a stark contrast to my family's chaos. Once they were gone, I turned back to my mother, Vanessa, and Trevor. This is not up for negotiation. Pack your things and leave immediately. I pulled out my phone. I am calling the police now if you do not start packing. Vanessa stared at me in disbelief, but Trevor was already moving toward their suitcases. Come on, Vanessa, he said quietly. We need to go. With a dramatic sigh, she stood up. My mother watched in stunned silence. I never thought I would see the day when you would choose strangers over your own sister, she said, her voice tight with disapproval. I'm not choosing strangers over family, I replied. I'm choosing to honor my commitments and protect what I've worked for. If you want to help Vanessa, why not offer her your spare room? My mother blinked, taken aback. My condo is too small for 3 people. Then perhaps you shouldn't have promised them my apartment without consulting me, I replied. For once, she had no ready response. As Vanessa and Trevor begrudgingly packed, the atmosphere grew tense. Vanessa slammed drawers. My mother paced, making passive-aggressive comments about family loyalty. I just don't understand how you can be so cold, she said. What exactly has our family done for me, Mom? I countered. I worked my way through college. I saved for years to buy this place. I have never asked you for a thing. Family isn't just about money, Natalie. Like how you were there for Vanessa by offering her my apartment without asking me. My mother flinched, finally with the help of a security guard Mr. Peters had called. Vanessa and Trevor's things were removed. I hope you're happy, Vanessa said bitterly as she left. Throwing your own sister out on the street? You're not on the street, I replied calmly. I've offered to pay for 3 nights at a hotel while you find alternative accommodation. She scoffed and walked out. After they left, my mother remained, looking suddenly older and tired. I never meant for this to happen, she said. I was just trying to help them. I know, I replied, but you can't help one child by taking from another. That's a lesson you should have learned a long time ago. I called Elijah and Isabella back up, and we completed the walkthrough. They were incredibly understanding. It actually reassured. Use that you take your responsibilities as a landlord seriously, Elijah said. That evening, I stood alone in my temporary room at Zoe's condo, feeling both drained and strangely exhilarated. For the first time, I had stood up to my family and held my ground. It had been painful, but necessary. My phone buzzed. It was my mother. I considered ignoring it, but decided to face this head-on. Natalie, she began, her tone subdued. I've been thinking about what you said. About me favoring Vanessa. I never meant to make you feel less important. I always thought you were so capable. You never seemed to need me the way she did. Everyone needs support, Mom, I said quietly. Even capable people. There was a long pause. You're right, she said. I haven't been fair to you. I want to do better. Will you give me a chance to try? I felt a complex mix of emotions. Yes, I said, I would like that. The next day, I received an email from Trevor. He and Vanessa were postponing the wedding and starting couples counseling. The incident had brought up issues they needed to address. He apologized for his part in the drama. A few days later, even Vanessa sent a grudging text. Trevor says I should apologize, so apology. Thanks for the hotel. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. It's been a year now. My relationships with my mother and sister are still a work in progress, but they're more honest than they've ever been. My mother and I have dinner, just the two of us, and she's learning to listen. Vanessa and Trevor are still together, working through their issues. We're not the perfect family from a greeting card, but we're real. I'm back in my apartment now, and Elijah and Isabella were the perfect tenants. The experience even sparked an interest in real estate investment. The confrontation was one of the hardest days of my life, but it was also one of the most liberating. Sometimes, the boundaries you fight hardest to establish are the ones that ultimately allow your relationships to heal and flourish in healthier ways. If you've ever had to stand up to family members who crossed your boundaries, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. And remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this story. Thank you for listening.